Episode 94.
94.
Marcus Cowzer. Is that
Yes.
how you say it? Cowzer?
Yeah, Cowzer, yeah.
Cowzer. How's things?
Good, mate. Good, yeah. Yeah, lovely.
Enjoy your sea swim this morning?
It was beautiful. It was fresh. It was fresh, and the waves for high tide is always better. You know, less of a walk in and out.
But now I prefer that. Less of a walk. Yeah, and you done the Dicky Dip yesterday in
Skerries, yeah. So for the Matter Foundation, it was men's cancer research, and I signed up for it. I think I must have had a couple of glasses of wine in me, and I just signed up for it. But a friend of mine done the Nip and the Dip, the ladies one,
right,
and she said it was brilliant, you know. So I said, you know, something that I'd like to do. And before I knew it, there was other fellas in the group. Oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So that was brilliant. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
It's always good like that, doing something with different people, and the little back of your head, you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, and then when you do it, you feel.
Well, I think
great
down
after.
here, I think down in the shelters, it helps. You know, I think that has been an eye opener for me in regards to meeting new people and,
Yes.
and learning about other people's lives, and it's an interest I have, you know. But I think down here, there's so much knowledge.
Yeah, it's
So much different knowledge and trauma and hurt and pain and happiness, and everyone has a different story, and I think it's fantastic, you know. It really is to be part of that. So I think that's given me sort of a boost to go out and try new things and learn about new people and get out of that comfort zone, you know.
yeah. And I think like what you talk about, like hurt and that life experience, that lived life experience, like life is it's hard, it's tough.
Oh, listen.
And certain people tougher for others, but you know, with that lived experience, and if you stay in that place of hurt, life is very difficult. But when people, like most of the people down there that are out of it and changing it and taking action on it, it's powerful to listen to.
It's choice. It's all about choice. And I said, you have to make that choice yourself to be able to say, do you know what, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously the line of work that I'm in and going into, it's everyone has pain in a different way.
Yes.
They see hurt in a different way. So how someone might see meeting new people as one of the toughest things that they'll ever have to do, like the amount of anxiety that will bring going to talk to new people, whereas some people just go, well, that's grand, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's a different perspective of how people see it. But as you said, there's so much hurt, and there's more hurt down there than grains of sand, I think.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But with that comes experience, and with that comes lessons, and with that comes guidance, I suppose, when you learn from people and you actually ask them their story, you know.
Yeah. And I gotta talk about what you're going into at the moment, because I'm really, when you told me that, I was like, right, I have to get him on the podcast because it's an interest I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So when did you decide? So at the moment, what are you studying for, just for people? So
I'm into my fourth year, so I'm just about finished to be a psychotherapist and counselling.
Right.
It's a 4-year degree, and the end is near, as they say. You know, I'm just finishing up my thesis, and it's something I can call myself a therapist now. You know,
savage.
Yeah, you know, before I was a student, you know, but I can actually, as you progress, you know, in first and second year, you're sort of just, what am I doing here? Because it's all about yourself. You're learning more about yourself, you know. And then towards third year, sort of right, okay, shit's getting real.
Yeah.
And then fourth year, you're meeting more people, and again down there, the likes of Kim and that other therapists, you're yapping to them and saying, you know what, we're talking on the same level here.
Yes.
So you can call yourself a therapist. So that's what I'm studying. And I decided that about 4 or 4.5 years ago.
Yeah. And why we always interested in people like you. You were a hairdresser by trade,
Mm-hmm.
so you're always interested in talking to people and meeting new people. Obviously, if you chose that profession, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think hairdressing, you're looking after people all the time. You've got so many different personalities sitting in your chair every half an hour, 40 minutes, the people that you work with. So I went into management, so I only styled for about 1.5 years, 2 years, but I got into the management side of things and the education side of things. And I think, again, the different personalities, the different generations, the different age levels coming in, and that's a whole different ball game. You know what I mean?
So.
You know what I mean? Because you've got like the old school hairdressers that probably were used to just getting everything done for them. Go get me lunch, and you do this for me. And then the newer way of sort of saying, right, you do everything, because, you know, you read stuff about CEOs. The CEO that cleans the toilets is on the same level. So we would always say, look, you're a stylist, but you have to shampoo. You're a stylist, but you have to, blow dry. And, whereas the older style might have gotten away with getting other people to do it for them.
Yes.
But then again, you get 16, 17, 18-year-olds coming in, and the mindset in regards to their training is like, oh, I don't have to do it at home. So I think dealing with people and different personalities all the time, so you're up and down, you don't know who could be sitting in your chair and what mood someone's going to be in, but I think looking after someone and changing people's lives, like literally people come in for a blow dry and they might have had a poxy day in work, that has changed their life. You know what I mean? They change a hair colour, a haircut, if they're just from a breakup or whatever it may be. So that interests me. But then in regards to the counselling and psychotherapy, it was through my own journey in therapy that my therapist said, did you ever consider it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was because the interactions that we were having, or maybe some of my answers I was given. She said, I think you'd be really good at it.
Yeah.
So that's what, maybe fish around and look for a course to get into it.
And I have loads of friends, like I've loads of female friends, and I've a good few of them are psychotherapists. I don't know any male psychotherapists. It's like females are drawn to that because of their caring nature and stuff, but like that's why I wanted to get you on, because males need more male psychotherapists, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's going to female is good as well, but we need more. Like, I think a male will go to a male easier than a female, do you know what I mean? Because similar lived experience, and they mightn't struggle to get the words out or talk about things that they might struggle with a female, you know?
Do you want to grade my thesis? I'm actually doing my thesis on that.
Right.
Just to see. Now, the research isn't there, but I do believe from what I'm experiencing people in my own clinic, there are a lot of men coming, a lot more men. So, and I mentioned to you, like, I've done 220 hours, and I'd say 170 of them have been with men.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, But I do get when I've been doing the studying and that, one of the main reasons men won't go to see a woman because they feel, they feel bad enough of being vulnerable as it is.
Yeah.
Going to a female therapist might put them off. If they're talking about their girlfriend, if they're talking about their mother, if they're talking about their sisters, whatever it may be, they might feel they get judged, even though all therapists have a non-judgment manner.
Yes.
But again, in a man's head, that could really put them off. Generally, if men have issues with their mother, they don't want to go in and maybe get the same relationship with that therapist, because they might project what their mom is like on their, on the therapist. There's so many different ways, but in a man's stigma, the stigma that is carrying mental health with men, I think it is quite off-putting. And I'm hoping, I was lucky enough in my last fourth year, there was 22 in our class, and I think there was about 11 men.
Yes.
So it is increasing.
Yeah.
But we don't know. We don't know how that's going to improve. As I said, the male suicide rates are still the highest. 78% of last year was male.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And if being a male therapist will encourage more men, well, I'm all here for it. I'm here for it,
And then, like, in case anybody's listening to me going, oh my God, what a fucking misogynist, they talk about that the feminine scar in males picked up from their mother or whatever. So if I'm going with this and I'm struggling with whichever way my perception of how she raised me, or it will be easier for me personally to say that to a man rather than in my mind that needs a bit of therapy. And if I'm going to a female, I'm like, she might take offence to that if I say that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's where I'd be coming
No, absolutely.
from,
and I think look, it's the initial step in the door. So my therapist is female, and I would have carried a lot from my relationship with my dad.
Yes.
Now, my dad was my hero.
Yes.
But looking back, his delivery of stuff wasn't maybe the best way, and it did affect me. So, I think men would have a lot of that, the upbringing, the parenting styles or whatever. So I think when I spoke to my therapist, it was just about the relationship, and that's what I first of all first and foremost try and get to when anyone comes into my room. It's just get this relationship, get the foundations in.
Yeah.
You know, don't go too deep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't go too heavy, because when you meet someone, first of all, you suss each other out.
Yeah.
You suss each other out, and I think with 18 to 22-year-olds, it doesn't always have to be deep trauma. Sometimes it's just life.
Yeah.
You know, and as much as their parents do everything through love, and they mean everything through love, maybe the direction that it just doesn't sit with the individual themselves, and they might feel a little bit, oh, it's my man, Dad.
Yeah.
You know, but the message might be still the same as someone else might give it to them. And it's like we were talking about football earlier on. Sometimes dads would tell their son how they should train, how they should play football, but yet when the coach says it, they go, oh, my coach said this, and the dad's going, I've been saying that to you for years.
Same. No, come here. I completely get that. And then, like, I've gone to therapists. I started going to a therapist about 25 years ago, so I'm all for it. Like, my parents love me deeply. I love my children deeply. But sometimes we need to go to a person who doesn't know us, who doesn't love us, has no relationship with us, that when we speak, they say, why don't you try this, this and this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they've no connection to you, and you will do that, you know what I mean, to live a better life, you know. So I think everybody should go to talk to someone, you know what I mean. We talk in this world about mental health, and we need to speak to each other. Yeah, we do, but you need to go to someone who hasn't got any connection with you, emotional, or trying to protect you from anything, and talk things out and find a different way of doing things, you know.
Absolutely, it's just a new voice, and sometimes it's like everything. You could be listening to podcast after podcast after podcast, and then you might just hear one that you go, oh, I get that.
Yeah.
And as I said, the 18 to 22 age group, you can talk deep with them because it's just going over their head. But you might, you could mention yoga, meditating, sea swimming, hikes, getting out in nature, whatever, and they mightn't get any of it. But then you might mention something about sports, and they go, I get that. Yeah. And it resonates with them. And the importance of communication, and open, honest communication, and talking about feelings is the number one, because they might leave at 19, but at 23, when shit really hits the fan, they might go, remember what that fella said to me when I was 8. It just stays there somewhere. It's just about educating them a little bit to say, oh, I remember he said that, because we all do it. Oh, my dad said that to me 10 years ago, you know what I mean? But if I only listened to him then, but you don't.
No.
But if you can give them something that sort of plants that seed, that makes them go, it does make things easier. Talk and being honest. It doesn't have to be lies, it doesn't have to be deceitfulness, whatever. That's educating them in a manner that will benefit them for life. Not just getting them through that little period. That's stuff that will stay with them for life, and hopefully their next generation, when they have kids, they can educate them in that manner.
No, come here. Like what you're saying about, my dad used to say stuff years ago, and then like a coach I had at the time might say it, and it was fucking gospel because he said it. But it was like, you hear what that fucking he just said 2 weeks ago? So that's part, and sometimes even with my own son, I have to fucking, my wife has to pull me aside and say, will you shut the fuck up? And just, because we do it from a place of love, but in well-meaning sometimes, you know, it has to come from an independent person, or instead of just saying it, live it. Try and live it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like when stuff happens in the heat of the moment, I think you get a little bit. The first thing you think of is, oh, he's doing my head in. Like, and I was meant to go to play football in England, and that didn't happen. But I knew my dad was so proud of me. I knew he was so, you know, he loved talking about me to other people. Maybe not to me, but to other people. And when that didn't happen, for whatever reason, if I wasn't good enough, or I was born with scoliosis, so there was a problem with me back over there, they probably looked at it and said, if we, the insurance reason, there could have been 1,000,001 things. But soon after I didn't make it, I started going out with a girl. But my dad just put it down to, it's her fault. And he just projected all his anger and, I suppose, disappointment of his dream not happening, even though it was my dream, on everything that I done afterwards. It's because of her, it's because of this, it's because of that. So I understand, and I only, to be honest, it was like a light bulb moment when I'm doing my research for my thesis, and there's a book called To Be a Man, and I read that little article saying we do often project our anger onto other things, and I'm going, that's it.
Yeah.
It's like 40 odd years later.
Yeah.
So it's that learning and understanding and awareness. Awareness is probably my biggest word, because once you're aware of something, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yes. Yeah. No, you can't unsee it, and it's painful because you don't get away with it.
Yeah.
When you have awareness in your life, it's painful, and sometimes you can see things coming a mile off, and you want to say, Jesus, look, but other people don't want to see it.
They try and block it out, and they're closing that door.
Crazy again. Yeah. But it's a lonely, painful thing, but it is good. But sometimes I need to keep it to myself.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, but that's like therapy, I suppose. You know, I was only thinking, like, people get their hair done, or they, you know, fillers or Botox or whatever, and the injection is doing everything for them. Do you know what I mean? And but then someone goes to a PT and goes, my PT is not working because I'm going to a PT 3 times a week, and I said, why isn't this not working? It's because when you go home, you're eating shite. You know what I mean? And no wonder it's not working. You have to do the work. And therapy is like that. And I said, I'm gonna go for 50 minutes, but what happens between this week and next week? Am I going to be fixed? Am I going to be cured? Am I, like, all these terms? But no, you have to do the work in the middle. You have to be prepared to go, okay, this is what I learned and this is what was said. Do the research and look into yourself, and that's uncomfortable. It's horrible, but it's rewarding once you start seeing, you know, and being comfortable with your own uncomfortableness. Yeah.
But what you said about your dad there, you know, his projection of the disappointment, we all do that. Like, and I think as a younger man, I kind of don't do it so much because I'm aware of it. Not that I'm saying I'm not perfect, but like that projection of, I heard a comment there a while ago of somebody, if you come across a person and you think they're a cunt, there's a chance they could be a cunt. They could be. If you come across another person and another person and another person and you think they're all cunts, there's a very high probability you're the cunt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about pulling it back on ourselves. Some of the people I know that have done the most amount of work on themselves, they live in, and this word is all trendy at the moment, dysfunctional families. They have sons that are addicts. They have friends that are addicts or parents that are addicts, and because they've done so much work and continue to do so much work on themselves, they can live in that environment and they project outwards and help them people, rather than my life's like this because of them and because of them and because of them. And it's like, I look at these people and I'm going, I need to be more like that. Do you know what I mean? To be able to be that well in myself that you can cope with anything.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You can
yeah.
live anywhere and cope with anything. Do you know what I mean? Instead of just pointing the finger outwards all the time, you know?
And that's very true, because I think, you know, learning about when people were being bullied, say, you know, we know it's more or less, it's what the bully has than the person getting bullied.
Yes.
And they're probably bullied at home, and whatever they're bullying you over, maybe they're insecure about, you know, and that's generally life. But as you said, the more and more people that seem to mention the same thing, you're like, no, he's this and he's that. Maybe it's you.
Yeah.
It is, maybe it's you, you know. And I suppose social media has a huge thing now at the moment, where people are posting hikes and they're posting sea swims and they're posting the laughs, and other people everyone watches. They mightn't like your story, they mightn't like your photograph, but they're still watching. Yeah. And it's going to get to the point where they're going to say, pain in me bollocks waking up every Sunday in a kitchen. Or not waking, you know what I mean? Have a pain, any chance I could join you with this, or any chance you could, and they'll throw an odd comment in, and that's like that debate. People want a better life. People want to break out of the norm, whereas, you know, people going out at the weekends and so, well, he's doing that and I'll do that sniff and I'll do this and I'll do that because it's the norm. Let's make happier living the norm. You know, joyfulness and that. But again, what I find, what makes me happy is completely different to maybe someone else. And sometimes sitting at home watching shite on telly makes me happy.
Yeah.
But other people might go, you're wasting your life away.
Yeah. Each their own, yeah.
Each their own, and let them be. But encouragement to other people and showing people, and that again, to going to therapy or going to speak to people or whatever, is a big thing.
Yeah.
Because it normalises everything. And again, with the thesis I'm looking at, it's men tend to do everything in groups. We like to be a team.
Yeah.
And it's what we're brought up on,
Yeah.
you know, and so, you know, the men's sheds, men's circles and stuff like that, it's great because men feel as if we're with men.
Yeah.
But in the right environment, when you're talking about, oh, we're men, but let's talk about feelings, let's talk about emotions, let's talk about shame and guilt, and put our hands up and go, yeah, we weren't the nicest people.
Yeah.
Or we're not. And this is what I want to look at.
Yeah.
And when you're in a group environment and admitting it, it feels less shameful.
Yeah.
And it makes it that little bit easier to actually go to the person that you should be saying it to and go, I fucked up and I wasn't the best husband and I wasn't the best brother, I wasn't the best son, because me mates down the shed or me mates in the circle are in the same boat and they feel so much better for saying out loud. And that might piggyback people into going, right, I need to deal with this on a one-to-one basis, I need to go and speak to someone.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully how it helps, because men, as I said, in groups will encourage other men to go and do stuff on their own.
Yeah. And then like with that unlearning, like it's like there a good few years ago, my dad really suffered his mental health and he was hospitalised a couple of times, and around that period I sat down with him, you know what I mean, and I'd kind of subconsciously, if your dad is like the perfect dad to everyone else, the son will struggle. Do you know what I mean? Because you always have that that male to male struggle with them. It's like this little alpha becoming an alpha, and the challenges there, as that's natural. That's what happens. You know what I mean? Because this man is in charge of the house and this young fella's growing up. So I would have struggled growing up. I loved him, but I struggled. And I remember I sat down with him and he told me all about his life, because I was so self-absorbed as a teenager is supposed to be, and growing into adolescence. And then when my children came along and I started to struggle growing up and raising boys or whatever, I sat down with him and I was like, fuck me, the life he's had and the heartbreak and all this stuff. And it made me see his side of the street way more. And there was a lot of, I wouldn't say, I wasn't forgiving him for anything because he done his best for me.
Yeah.
But a lot of understanding gone, kind of walking away from the conversation going, how the fuck did he even manage to get through that? You know what I mean? So and I think that comes with life experience and age. Whereas as a teenager to 26, you're volatile. You know what I mean? It's all about you and everything's volatile. So you haven't got that understanding.
No,
you know?
No. And as you said, your dad's mental health, but that, like, he's from a different generation altogether.
Yes.
Like, and even from the research I was doing, like 15 years ago, 16, 17, 15 years ago I think it was, there was studies done. Men saw mental health as psychotic or one flew over the cuckoo's nest and straitjacket jobs. And that's the way mental health was perceived in the media, that you had to be bipolar or schizophrenic. Anxiety, depression, you know, trauma wasn't in that bracket.
No.
So men were experiencing that, but they were like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not mental health because you have to be crazy to be, you know what I mean? And that's, you have to think about the different generations from the generations before that had to deal with that.
Yeah.
And they've come out with this, well, I survived it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got through it and that's how I was feeling. But they only know that now.
Yeah.
But when you're in the moment, when you're feeling it, it's easy for someone to go, oh, I felt like that before and my life was a lot worse than yours. No, it doesn't deal like that.
Yeah.
But when you do sit down, and I remember Pat Divney, I think, said about his dad never said he loved him. You know, and my dad didn't really, and I don't think he ever said, I'm sorry. Yeah. And that was a big thing for me. And I remember going to someone's house and I was just having a sleepover and they would start kissing their family goodnight. I was like, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Pat said, but his dad brought him here and that was showing love just because he didn't say it.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I had to look and say, okay, well, I never wanted for a pair of football boots. I always got them. I always got, brought
Yeah.
the train and whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas my mum would be very much, I love you, son.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was, but I suppose that bond, as you say, with a man,
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah. No, and that's similar to my dad, but there was always food in the fridge. He grafted. He never missed work. He engaged in a lot of sport, and you have to look at. It's kind of, it's like I'd like him just personally for me. I was like a spoiled child. I was focusing on what wasn't done instead of what was done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the issue wasn't with him, it was me. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but look at all the other things. And when he went to therapy, he told me this. He was the same thing, and his therapist was like, yeah, but look at all the great stuff you've done. And he couldn't see it. You know what I mean? Until it was pointed out, he got a bit of clarity in his mind and a bit of forgiveness, and he was able to manage a bit more. So I think as men, sometimes going to a therapist, because we're going in with all our woes, and the therapist is going, yeah, but look at all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we don't see that. We just focus on the negative sometimes.
Well, we do,
You
and I
know?
think that because, the opposite of what I said about 18 to 22-year-old, they're only on their journey.
Yes.
You're just throwing them little snippets to hopefully, as I said, they get to our age or get, 30s or whatever. Our age. But,
You're a bit younger than me.
But the older generation, when you're talking about 30, 40 years of all they know is that way,
Yeah.
to even give them a snippet of, no, it can be different.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
They're like, what? No, that's all I know. This is all I know, and I'm sticking this way. So even for your dad to go to, to even be open to new information it's fantastic. Yeah. And to actually, but as I said, to do the work is buy into that and learn more. Keep going. Otherwise, you'll go the following week and go, yeah, I'll see you next week, and do nothing in between.
Yeah, no, it's like going to the gym then, and as you said, blaming your PT. Unfortunately, you have to drink the water during the week. You have to probably get out for a few walks. You have to eat a little bit of food. You have to take the action yourself, rather than just
proper
well,
sleep.
I'm paying him 120 quid or 80 quid or whatever it is. He should be doing it for me. No, you have to move them mountains yourself.
Yeah. No, it is. It's a balance of everything, And I always say to my clients, I said, look, I don't see you from one end of the week to the next. So this 50 minutes is your time. Now, as a client, I was like, well, I'm paying this person money. I'm going to drill down for as much as I can out of that. But then afterwards, I'm going to because there's so much that happens, so much communication can go, and it's like talk therapy is generally, there's different types where person-centered is let the client talk and they come up with the answers themselves, whereas, therapists in a good relationship will do a lot of talking, but they're feeding you full of information. They're feeding you stuff that you just have to take a snippet and go and learn from that.
Yeah.
And I get that, we get that every Sunday morning, Saturday morning when you're talking to people down there. That's therapy for me, because I hear some of the stories that and I go, wow. And I go home for the week and I reflect on it. Yeah. And I learn from it, and I text them and I ask them questions about it, because I'm interested in it. I'm interested in it,
Yeah. No. And then I suppose your own story, I'm jumping all over the place here, which is, instead of going, where you from, what you do, so it's a good conversation. I'm really enjoying it. But from your own hurt point of view, so you're playing for Home Farm.
Yeah.
You're playing for Home Farm. Davey played for Belvo as well, so you just played with Davey with Home Farm.
Well, Davey's a little bit older than me.
Okay.
You see, he's a bit older than me. Right. So I played Home Farm since I was 9. I played 10 years with Home Farm schoolboy, but I went to Norwich for 3.5 years with Ruth's brother Keith O'Neill.
Okay, yeah.
So myself, Keith, Trevor Eacock and Paul Grogan, the four of us went over every sort of mid-term summer holiday, went for pre-season and played with Home Farm in the proper season. And when that didn't happen, I hit 18 and I just I didn't know it then, but I suppose it stuck in my head that not good enough.
Yeah.
And I just said, you know what, I'm giving up. Yes, I started going out with a girl, but it was an easy excuse because I gave up football for my dad to say it's her fault.
Yeah.
It was just me. I just lost the love of the game because I done all of that. I done bed early, stop this, stop that, eat right, you know, pastas, all of this stuff. And I just said, you know what, I've done enough of it. So I went on the rampage, and I just went splats for a few years, you know, because I was sort of, my childhood was devoted to football. And then I think I was 21, and someone just rang me up about Home Farm and said, look, they're putting the Leinster Senior League team, would you fancy going down? So I went down, and that's where I met Davey.
Right.
A lot of older lads were there, and I just continued playing then until I was about, I only really about 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Yeah. Kept playing. I went back to an over 35, went to DAA, and but yeah, so football to me was always a big thing.
Yeah.
But then also, you know, I was with Ballymun United for 3 or 4 years, and that was fantastic. You know what I mean? That was just male masculinity all over the place. You know what I mean? We were fired up into every game. You know, every training session was the same. The dressing room banter was great. I met Gaz McCormick there last week here, and it was just great to see him. It's just always a hug. It's always, and we were really, really close. And I suppose, as you said about disadvantaged areas, people would always assume on Ballymun.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we had our dressing room underneath one of the tower blocks in the towers. You know what I mean? It was underneath one of them, and we just went out and we just fought for each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after the matches, we went, and all the girlfriends were together, and all the fellas. It was a great time, but there would have been a lot of, you know, bit of banter and that. So you develop a hard skin.
Yes. Yeah.
And anyone that sort of came that wasn't from Ballymun, decent players, took a while to sort of integrate into that, because they didn't know whether they were liked or not, you know.
Yeah. I always like that. It's like, even with Davey down there, like the slagging or Willa or whoever, it just be some people, it's fucking ruthless, you know what I mean? But I like that. My wife was always like that growing up. From where she grew up, it's like other people, the slagging is fucking ruthless. You know what I mean?
You go in for the juggler. Yeah, no, it's good. But again, you have to be careful, because people might be a little bit insecure about it.
Yeah.
But they always mean, there's always a wink or a smile or a little dig into the ribs afterwards, as if to say, I'm only messing with you, you know what I mean? Whereas the tone in their voice even has a lot to do with it. And even when you're speaking to people, tone in your voice, if you can say it with a bit of anger in your voice, you know, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's hurtful. Whereas you can say it with a bit of joking and slagging. Yeah, I love it.
And then, like, I know a lot of sports people from all types of backgrounds, and what you described there, and especially young men really struggle with this. It's like, they put everything into MMA, they put everything into cycling, everything into running, and when that doesn't work out, it's like they get to this stage like, who am I? They just lose their identity, because in their area they were always going to be this thing. And then when that thing doesn't, my heart breaks for them, because I know I'd be friendly with a lot of them, do you know what I mean? Now, a few of them are older now, have a couple of kids and stuff like that, and they came to terms with it. But it took a while. I'd say that was a tough period.
Well, that's an area that I suppose I want to look at maybe going into, is that age group that don't make it.
Yes.
You know, and it's funny, it doesn't matter what level you're at.
Yes.
You know, because you're that committed at something.
Yeah.
And when you put your heart and soul into, sometimes you aren't that good enough.
No.
And you have to put your hands up, but putting your commitment into it, you feel as if I've done my best, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
But dealing with that, or if someone gets a lucky break that you don't, that stays in here, stays there, and it can affect you for life.
Yeah.
I was watching, and it's coming out, Brian O'Driscoll. So you could talk elite athletes. Brian O'Driscoll and Richie Sadler are bringing out a show where, because Richie is a psychotherapist.
He played with Millwall.
Millwall, but I read his book, and you know, he battled.
I read his book.
Yeah,
too.
he battled with so much as well. But him and Brian have done are doing a show where Brian is actually the client and Richie is his therapist. And Richie said, he was on the late and he said, I found that a little bit because of boundaries and because of everything else. He said, I wanted to, I wasn't too sure, but I'm dying to look at it. But then Brian O'Driscoll, when he retired, he put on the weight, he was sort of lounging about the house, he just didn't know what to do. And even his missus was saying, you know, are you alright? He goes, yeah, I'm great. It's only when pre-season started back that he went, shit, I'm not playing anymore. And he had to deal with that because he's been for that long. But it can also affect people at 18 to 20 to 25 at amateur level. at any level. You know, when you put your heart and soul into anything, Irish dancing, even girls doing the dancing, and that, you know, and all of a sudden they don't. It's hard. So it's an area that I would like to look at. I know sports psychology is all about mindset and getting to the next level, and that, but it's what happens when you don't get to that level. When your dream doesn't come true. Because I wasn't that keen on school because I said, I'm going to be a footballer. And I panicked when I didn't go to college, and I panicked when I didn't have a job, and my dad was all about get a pensionable job, and I was like, wow. To being 40 odd and going, I want a different direction, and it's okay.
No,
to be in a job
100%.
for 15 years and say, do you know what, I need a change, and leaving it and going, it's okay.
Because that's the mentality that, like, I always kind of wanted to be something different, and it's like, what? It's like, no, get your bleeding trade. You know what I mean? I don't really want that. Get your bleeding trade. And come here, because that's learned, and that's coming from a place of love and security, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, like, and not passing any judgment, whatever the fuck you want to do. But I think as us now, we kind of go, I just want you to be happy.
Exactly.
You know, I just want you to be fucking happy.
Like, I'm fair, but if COVID has taught us anything, you know, and I think, you know, a different generation would have gone through the recession, and like found, like, we don't know what their mental struggles was like when it was like no work, bills to be paid. Like, it was horrible. All these holidays and all this renovations and everything had to stop for years, and people are panicking because the Celtic Tiger was like, who wants money? To now COVID is changing only the older generation, but it's also after affecting the younger generation because they've had 2 years of not interacting, not proper schooling. So it's completely changed. But they learn it because you get your job, get your trade, your safety, or this. You'll always work if you have this, and but it's about being happy.
That's it in a nutshell.
And paying the rent as well, but you know what I mean. But if you it doesn't matter what you do, and you know, if I probably would have looked people. Oh, you've got a job at McDonald's. McDonald's plays well. And are you happy? Are you? I'm happy. Well, then go and do it. You know what I mean. Don't let anyone else take that away from you, because if you can wake up every morning and look forward to what's ahead of you, be it a sea swim, be it a run, be it weights, be it walk, be it a night, whatever it may be, go and do it. I write newsletters, and I write these things each week, and I'm looking at mindset, and mindset is fantastic, but sometimes, and I'm going to call it mind over matter, because that's the saying as way as it goes, but sometimes our mind overtakes what really matters. And the happiness and spending time with people, and you know, with your loved ones, and embracing every moment is what matters. Than I have to earn this amount of money, and I have to buy this house, and I have to drive this car. Do you know what I mean? That pressure sometimes overtakes, because the pressures that the kids have at the moment, it's shocking.
No, it is. I would have been like that at certain time in your life, because that's the way you are. When you're hanging around with friends that are all like that, you're like that. I grew up in a time where nobody had a camera phone, thank fuck. You know what I mean? And all this stuff. And now, sometimes you even feel yourself as an older man and as an adult, you're like going, what the fuck? You know what I mean? What the fuck? So I can't imagine what the pressure is like on younger kids, and they're growing up all through this, and this fear of missing out and not having the... You always wanted the runners, but now it's like on speed with social media and stuff like that. But I suppose it's pain will make you either make a decision to change something or stay there. One or the other.
And that's important. I think that's... I was only saying to Kim this morning that, like, the social media nowadays, it's just on another level. And we don't know, you know, we might have a handle on it, we feel, you know, what we post, or how we use it, what pictures we take, whereas the different generations look at it and go, it's TikTok now, it's Snapchat, it's this, and you don't post this and you can't post that because you'd be ridiculed for it. And we don't know that, because we could easily say, post what you want, but we're not in their shoes. We don't know, you know, it's gas. I'm hearing in the gym, I'm looking in the gym of fellas, and they're 22, 23, and they're talking about testosterone tablets, and they're worried about increasing their testosterone. I was a walking hormone at 20s.
Yeah.
20s to me 30s. I was like, whoa, and I didn't even think about it. But now it's like performance. It has to be better. It has to be this, and I can't let this down, and I have to keep going that. And we can educate in a little way, but it's not going to make much of a difference because all around them is these pressures. Their circles are full of these pressures, and everyone is dealing with it. Or are they just taking it for the sake of it? Are they just doing things for the sake of it?
And when my dad was in Pats, I used to go in to visit him, and he was in his 70s at this stage, you know what I mean? And they were all young fellas, from 18 to 24, and steroids was a major, like, we're all young fellas. Like, I was like going, all these fucking, did these all work here, PTs or something? No, they were all fucking clients. And when he went in the second time out of his group, a lot of them fellas are dead now. Do you know what I mean? They're dead, like, they took their own lives, you know. So it's sad, you know, and not everyone is going to make it.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Not everyone's going to make it. That's life, you know what I mean? And with that sadness is what did you learn from it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's that's the area that as a up and coming therapist, there's so much that needs to be delved into like that. Whereas the older generation, the older therapists, it's all about inner child, and it's all about this that. Whereas deal with the now, deal with the shit that's happening now, and there's men taking their lives not because of the inner child, and not because of it's because of real stuff that's happening now. You know, and something that I'm really I was talking again to Kim about the schools. Like, why doesn't transition year have something about emotions, attachment, addiction? I know they're starting to bring pornography awareness into schools at the moment, which is good. Yeah. But they need to know about attachments and emotions and feelings, because what happens at 18 if they understand their attachment style a little bit, when they do have that forced breakup? The first thing they're not thinking of is, I can't go on. This has to end because I'm so heartbroken. If they had some sort of knowledge of going, that's my attachment style, and that's why I'm feeling like this, and that's why I was so dependent on her or him or whatever, just have some sort of knowledge to make them go, right, I'll get through this. Because a split second decision, unfortunately, there's no going back from it.
And why men have such high suicide rates and females don't. Men have the physicality to actually do the action. Females consider suicide a lot more, but males. I was talking with a buddy of mine. He worked in a centre for homeless, addicted men a few years ago down in Cork, and he said every single one of the men that he responded to that took their own lives had drink on board. So it's like they just need that little softener to just get over the line, and then they do something with terrible consequences that there's no room back on. No room back on.
But look, we don't know. Hopefully the more awareness, and hopefully the more people are speaking out and getting people early to understand that it's okay to be not okay. And go and talk to someone, go and talk to each other, and make it normal. Make it dressing room talk. It's not going to get to that level, but make it normal that when you're out in that pitch or in that gym, to actually go, do you know what, I'm struggling here, whatever it may be. That's the first step. And hopefully with stuff the way it's being portrayed now in the social media and in the media, it is normalising it a little bit, that even the older generation will take note and go, okay, maybe we need to change our language around our kids now, just a little bit.
And even with the skills, like I have this ongoing issue with skills, and I've won halfway through secondary school, but like I'm listening to this waffle years out of skills. It's like they're producing workers. If they were really concentrated on what you were saying, talking about producing happy people, talking about producing people to pursue stuff that they want. We have this memory test every year, and the anxiety it induces through girls and boys that are doing the Leaving Cert of this memory test. It's like, what are we trying to do here? What are we trying to do? And people fucking cramming and fucking suicidal and all sorts. It's like, it's very easy to change, but we don't seem to want to do anything about it. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It just keeps perpetuating every year, you know.
And look, I know they've changed the language, and I heard on the radio when the Leaving Cert was coming up, and the way they're speaking, saying, don't be worrying, relax, it's only an exam, you know. But that's leading up to that's good advice. Whether that's been repeated at home, whether that's being repeated in the classroom, but the points are still so high, and PLC courses or lower courses aren't pushed loud enough because they're okay as well. You know, you meet people with no education, but they have so much knowledge. They have so much knowledge, you know what I mean? They might have left school at 16 for whatever reason, but they went on to learn, and Brian Penny even, do you know what I mean? The stuff that he's gone through to now become PhD.
Savage.
You know, in his own way, and that can happen. But at 18, when you feel, oh, I need to go to college, I need to go to UCD and Trinity or DCU, like, no, you don't.
You need to be happy.
You need to be happy. You need to be happy.
And Marco, at that, we're going to end on that.
Thank
That was
so
nice.
much.
I really enjoyed that. I'm going to post, I'll get a photograph down there. I'm going to post this video later on. It'll be on YouTube, it'll be on Spotify. Please do us a favour, share and like. And Marco, I'm going to get you to press that red button there.
Thank you.
Nice one, bud.